Ladies and gentlemen, imagine waking up tomorrow with only the things you thanked for today. Let that sink in. We live in a world where we are always chasing more success, more money, more recognition. But in this endless pursuit, we often forget to appreciate what we already have. We take life for granted, the people around us for granted, even our own blessings for granted. But what if I told you that the key to happiness, peace, and success is not in what you lack, but in what you already have? Life will test us. Heartbreak, failures, losses. But gratitude is what turns every tear into a lesson, every setback into a comeback, and every struggle into strength. You might wonder, how can I be grateful when life is falling apart? But what if gratitude is not about having a perfect life, but about seeing the perfection in the imperfection? Stay with me till the end of this speech, and I promise you, your perspective on life will never be the same again. Imagine waking up tomorrow with only the things you thanked for today. Let that sink in. We live in a world where we are always chasing more success, more money, more recognition. But in this endless pursuit, we often forget to appreciate what we already have. We take life for granted, the people around us for granted, even our own blessings for granted. But what if I told you that the key to happiness, peace, and success is not in what you lack, but in what you already have? Life will test us, heartbreak, failures, losses, but gratitude is what turns every tear into a lesson, every setback into a comeback, and every struggle into strength. You might wonder, how can I be grateful when life is falling apart? But what if gratitude is not about having a perfect life, but about seeing the perfection in the imperfections? Stay with me till the end of this speech, and I promise you, your perspective on life will never be the same again. Most of us are wired to focus on what's missing. We compare ourselves to others, scrolling through social media and thinking, why is their life better than mine? We dwell on failures, magnify problems, and feel as if we are constantly lacking something. But gratitude has the power to shift that perspective. It doesn't change our circumstances, but it changes how we see them. And when we change how we see things, everything changes. Think about it. How often do we complain about things that someone else is praying for? We wake up grumbling about having to go to work while someone out there is desperately searching for a job. We complain about our aging parents while someone has lost theirs and would give anything for one more conversation. We take even the simplest things for granted. The ability to walk, to see, to breathe without difficulty, without realizing that for some, these are daily struggles. Perspective is everything. When you focus on what's missing, you will always feel like something is missing. But the moment you shift your focus to what you already have, you realize how much abundance surrounds you. Imagine two people facing the exact same challenge. One complains, the other is grateful for the lesson it brings. One sees it as a curse, the other as an opportunity to grow. Who do you think will come out stronger? Life is not about what happens to us, but about how we respond to it. And gratitude is the lens through which we can see even the toughest moments in a different light. Think of a person who has lost everything but still finds reasons to smile. Think of someone who has gone through unimaginable hardships yet continues to inspire others with their positivity. What makes them different? It's not that their lives are easy, it's that they have chosen to see beauty even in the darkest moments. There is a story of a blind man who used to sit by the roadside holding a sign that read, "I am blind, please help." Some people dropped a few coins in his cup, but most walked past without noticing. One day, a stranger stopped, took his sign, and wrote something new. Soon, people began stopping more frequently, dropping more money into his cup. The blind man asked what had changed, and the stranger replied, "I simply reworded your message. Now it says it's a beautiful day, but I can't see it." What changed? The reality remained the same. The man was still blind. But now, instead of focusing on what he lacked, the sign made people appreciate what they had. Their eyesight, the ability to witness the beauty of the world. That shift in perspective made all the difference. Gratitude is not about ignoring pain, struggles, or hardships. It is about acknowledging them while still choosing to see the good. It is about understanding that even in the worst of times, there is something to be thankful for. It is about recognizing that challenges come to teach us, to mold us, to make us stronger. Have you ever met someone who seems to have everything, yet is still miserable? And have you met someone with very little who radiates joy? That's because happiness is not about how much we have, but about how much we appreciate what we have. There is a reason why some of the most inspiring people in the world are those who have faced adversity. They have learned to find gratitude in places where most people would only see despair. They have mastered the art of turning pain into power. Gratitude is a practice. It is a choice. It is something you train your mind to embrace every single day. The more you focus on it, the more it grows. What you appreciate, appreciates. And when you truly start seeing life through the lens of gratitude, you realize that even in the most difficult moments, there is something beautiful waiting to be seen. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you when things go well. It is about appreciating even the smallest blessings, the unnoticed moments, the seemingly ordinary aspects of life that we often overlook. It is about shifting our mindset from expecting to appreciating, from feeling entitled to feeling blessed. When we develop the habit of gratitude, we begin to see life in a completely different way. Most of us spend our days waiting for something big to happen before we feel grateful. We wait for success before we appreciate our hard work, for love before we appreciate companionship, for wealth before we appreciate security. But the truth is, the people who live the most fulfilling lives don't wait for something extraordinary to happen to be grateful. They are grateful first. And that gratitude attracts more good things into their lives. Think about the way we usually think. We wake up in the morning and immediately start listing everything we need to do, everything that is stressing us out, everything that is not going as planned. We rarely pause to acknowledge the fact that we woke up, that we have a bed to sleep in, food to eat, a roof over our heads. These may seem like simple things, but for many people around the world, they are luxuries. Gratitude is about noticing what we already have instead of focusing on what we don't. Our minds are naturally wired to look for problems, to focus on what is missing, to dwell on what could go wrong. But what if we trained our minds to look for what is good? What if instead of waking up and thinking about what we lack, we woke up and immediately found 5 things to be grateful for? The moment we do that, our entire day shifts, our energy shifts, our attitude shifts. And when that happens, everything else around us begins to change. It is easy to be grateful when everything is going well, but true gratitude is tested in difficult times. When life throws challenges at us, we have 2 choices. We can either focus on the pain or we can look for the lesson. We can either let adversity break us or we can let it shape us into stronger, wiser, more compassionate people. Those who practice gratitude in tough times do not deny their struggles. They simply choose to see beyond them. They choose to find meaning in their pain. They choose to believe that even hardships have a purpose. There are people who have been through the worst circumstances, who have lost everything, who have faced unimaginable difficulties, yet they still find reasons to smile. They still find reasons to be grateful. They still find reasons to move forward. And it is not because their lives are easy, but because they have understood a simple truth. What you focus on grows. If you focus on what's missing, you will always feel empty. But if you focus on what you have, you will always feel abundant. A mother who loses a child can spend her life drowning in grief, or she can choose to cherish the love she was able to give and receive, to honor the life that was lost by living with even more purpose. A person who loses a job can spend weeks feeling worthless, or they can see it as an opportunity to build something new, to explore a different path, to find something even greater than what they lost. The power of gratitude is not in changing the situation, but in changing how we respond to it. There is a famous story of a woman who was diagnosed with a serious illness. The doctors gave her little hope. Instead of drowning in despair, she made a choice. She would write down 3 things she was grateful for every single day, no matter how bad she felt. At first, it was difficult. She struggled to find reasons. But as days passed, she started noticing the small things: the warmth of the sun on her skin, the laughter of her loved ones, the taste of her morning coffee. That practice gave her the strength to keep fighting, to keep hoping, to keep believing in life even in the face of uncertainty. Gratitude is a muscle. The more we use it, the stronger it becomes. The more we practice it, the more natural it feels. It starts with the little things: thanking the person who holds the door open for you, appreciating the food on your plate, noticing the beauty of a sunset, feeling grateful for the air you breathe. As we cultivate this habit, it becomes part of who we are. And once that happens, we realize that happiness was never something to be found outside of us. It was always within us, waiting to be noticed. When we live in gratitude, we stop taking things for granted. We stop waiting for some future event to bring us happiness. We stop living in the illusion that life will be better once we achieve something, once we acquire something, once we reach some distant milestone. Instead, we start seeing the value in this very moment. We start realizing that even in the middle of chaos, there is something to be thankful for. There is a shift that happens when gratitude becomes our default way of thinking. Our relationships improve because we appreciate the people in our lives instead of focusing on their flaws. Our mental health improves because we focus on what is working instead of what is failing. Our outlook on life changes because we stop expecting perfection and start appreciating the beauty in imperfection. No matter where you are in life, no matter what you are going through, there is always something to be grateful for. It could be something as small as a smile from a stranger, the kindness of a friend, the comfort of a warm bed. When we start acknowledging these things, our hearts open, our burdens feel lighter. And life, no matter how imperfect, starts to feel a little more beautiful. Regret has the power to transform our relationships, not just with others, but with ourselves. When we appreciate what we have, we begin to see the world through a lens of abundance rather than lack. We begin to realize that the way we connect with others is a reflection of the way we connect with ourselves. So often we are caught up in expectations, expecting people to behave a certain way, expecting circumstances to align with our desires, expecting life to give us what we believe we deserve. But gratitude shifts our focus from expectation to appreciation. Think about the way we interact with the people in our lives. How often do we focus on what they don't do rather than what they do? How often do we get frustrated when a friend doesn't call, but forget to be grateful when they do? How often do we take our loved ones for granted, assuming they will always be there, assuming they will always show up, assuming their kindness is just a given? Gratitude teaches us to notice, to acknowledge, to appreciate even the smallest gestures. It reminds us that love is not something we are owed. It is something we are gifted with, something we should never overlook. When we practice gratitude in our relationships, everything changes. Instead of focusing on what someone lacks, we appreciate what they bring into our lives. Instead of dwelling on imperfections, we cherish the qualities that make them special. Instead of seeking constant validation, we learn to give love without expectation. The moment we start seeing people through a lens of gratitude, our relationships deepen, our bonds strengthen, and we realize that connection is built not on perfection, but on appreciation. One of the greatest things gratitude does is it teaches us to communicate differently. Instead of complaining about what's missing, we start acknowledging what's present. Instead of criticizing, we start encouraging. Instead of assuming people know how much they mean to us, we start telling them. A simple thank you, a kind word, a heartfelt expression of appreciation. These small moments have the power to transform not just someone else's day, but our own. There is a story of a man who had been married for over 30 years. For years, he and his wife had fallen into the routine of daily life, barely acknowledging each other's efforts. One day, after hearing about the power of gratitude, he decided to write his wife a letter listing everything he appreciated about her. He left it on the kitchen table and went about his day. That evening, his wife, with tears in her eyes, told him that in all their years of marriage, no one had ever acknowledged her efforts like that. She had spent so much time wondering if she was doing enough, if she was seen, if she was valued. That one moment of gratitude changed everything for them. The truth is, we never really know how much a simple act of appreciation can mean to someone. We never know what someone is going through, what battles they're fighting, what insecurities they're carrying. Sometimes all it takes is a few kind words, a genuine thank you, an acknowledgement of their presence to remind them that they matter. And when we do that, we not only lift them up, but we also lift ourselves up. Gratitude creates a cycle of positivity. The more we give, the more we receive. The more we appreciate, the more we find to appreciate. But gratitude in relationships is not just about others. It is also about ourselves. So often, we are our own harshest critics. We focus on our mistakes, our flaws, our shortcomings. We hold ourselves to impossible standards, constantly striving to be more, do more, achieve more. But what if, instead of constantly chasing the next version of ourselves, we stopped and appreciated the person we are today? Gratitude towards oneself is one of the most powerful yet overlooked forms of self-care. When we appreciate ourselves, we build confidence. When we acknowledge our growth, we develop self-respect. When we stop comparing ourselves to others and start valuing our own journey, we find peace. The way we treat ourselves sets the tone for how the world treats us. If we are constantly criticizing ourselves, we invite criticism from others. But if we are kind to ourselves, if we appreciate our efforts, if we recognize our worth, we create an environment where respect, love, and gratitude thrive. Imagine standing in front of a mirror and instead of pointing out all the things you don't like about yourself, you start listing things you appreciate. Imagine looking at your past, not with regret, but with gratitude for the lessons it taught you. Imagine treating yourself with the same kindness and appreciation you extend to the people you love. When we do this, we stop seeking validation from the outside world because we have already given it to ourselves. We stop waiting for someone else to tell us we are enough because we already believe it. Gratitude in relationships, whether with others or with ourselves, is about presence. It is about being fully here, fully aware, fully appreciative of the moments we have. Too often we live in the past, dwelling on what was, or in the future, worrying about what will be. But gratitude anchors us in the present. It reminds us that right here, right now, there is something to be thankful for. Life is unpredictable. People come and go. Moments pass. But when we cultivate gratitude, we create something lasting. We build relationships based on appreciation rather than expectation. We create a life where love is acknowledged, where kindness is noticed, where connection is deepened. And in the end, it is not what we have, not what we achieve, but the love we give and the gratitude we express that truly defines the quality of our lives. Gratitude has an extraordinary ability to shift our perspective, especially when we face adversity. Life is unpredictable, full of moments that test us, break us, and push us beyond our limits. It is in these moments of struggle that gratitude becomes the most powerful tool we can hold on to. The way we perceive our hardships determines the direction of our lives. We can choose to be bitter, to see ourselves as victims of circumstances, or we can choose to be grateful, to extract meaning from our pain and to let it shape us into something greater. Many people believe that gratitude is only for when things are going well. They think, how can I be grateful when everything is falling apart? But the truth is, gratitude is not just about celebrating the good times. It is about finding strength in the difficult ones. It is about understanding that even in darkness, there is light. Even in loss, there is learning. Even in failure, there is growth. Gratitude is the bridge that takes us from suffering to healing, from despair to hope. When we practice gratitude during our toughest times, we begin to see struggles not as punishments, but as opportunities. Every challenge we face is shaping us, preparing us for something greater. Every closed door is redirecting us towards something better. Every heartbreak is teaching us something we need to know. The moment we shift our focus from, why is this happening to me, to what is this teaching me, everything changes. We stop feeling powerless and start reclaiming control. We stop drowning in our pain and start rising with wisdom. There are countless stories of people who turned their suffering into strength through gratitude. There are those who lost everything, only to discover what truly mattered. There are those who faced rejection only to find themselves on a path they never knew they needed. There are those who endured unimaginable loss only to emerge with a deeper understanding of love, compassion, and the fragility of life. What separates them from others is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of gratitude. Imagine waking up every day and choosing to focus not on what is missing, but on what remains. Imagine looking at every setback as a setup for a greater comeback. Imagine seeing every moment of pain as part of a bigger picture, a story still being written. When we adopt this mindset, we stop seeing ourselves as victims of life and instead we become students of it. We learn to embrace the lessons, no matter how painful they are. We learn to trust the process, even when it makes no sense. We learn to find purpose in our pain, knowing that everything we go through is shaping us into who we are meant to be. There is a story of a woman who lost her job, her home, and almost everything she had worked for. At first, she was devastated, drowning in fear and self-doubt. But one day, she made a choice to be grateful for the opportunity to rebuild. Instead of focusing on what she had lost, she focused on what she still had. She had her health, her mind, her ability to start again. She began to see the loss not as an end, but as a beginning. With time, she found a new purpose, a new career, and a life even better than the one she thought she had lost. She later said that losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to her, because it forced her to become the person she was always meant to be. This is the power of gratitude. It does not change our circumstances, but it changes the way we see them. It allows us to rise, to grow, to transform. It helps us let go of anger and resentment and instead embrace acceptance and understanding. It teaches us that even our deepest pain has a purpose. It means waking up and finding something, anything, to be grateful for even when everything feels like it is falling apart. It means reminding ourselves that no matter how hard today is, we have survived every difficult day before this. It means trusting that what is meant for us will never miss us, and what is not meant for us is making space for something better. When we embrace gratitude in times of hardship, we build resilience. We develop an unshakable faith in life, knowing that everything, even the painful moments, is serving a purpose. We learn to stop resisting what is happening and start working with it. We learn to stop asking why and start asking how. How can this experience make me stronger? How can this setback prepare me for something greater? How can I use this pain to grow, to evolve, to become better? The beauty of gratitude is that it does not require perfect conditions. It does not ask us to wait until life is easy. It asks us to start now, in this moment, with whatever we have. It asks us to open our eyes to the blessings we have overlooked, to the lessons hidden in our struggles, to the opportunities buried in our losses. And when we do, we begin to see life differently. We begin to realize that every challenge is temporary, but the wisdom we gain from it lasts forever. We begin to understand that even our darkest days are leading us somewhere, shaping us, preparing us. Gratitude in adversity is the ultimate act of faith. It is the decision to trust the journey even when we cannot see the destination. It is the belief that every storm will pass, that every wound will heal, that every struggle will one day make sense. It is the unwavering knowing that we are stronger than we think, braver than we believe, and more capable than we ever imagined. It is the realization that no matter what happens, we always have something to be grateful for. Gratitude is not just a feeling. It is a way of seeing the world, a lens through which we view our experiences. When we practice gratitude, we do not change the external circumstances of our lives, but we transform the way we respond to them. It allows us to shift our perspective from what is missing to what is present, from what we lack to what we have, from what we regret to what we have learned. In this shift, we unlock a profound sense of peace and contentment, one that cannot be taken away by external forces. Gratitude is not about ignoring the challenges we face. It is about recognizing the good that exists even in the midst of those challenges. We live in a world where people are constantly chasing more success, more recognition, more wealth, more validation. There is always a sense of never having enough, never being enough. We are conditioned to believe that happiness lies in the next achievement, the next possession, the next milestone. But when we reach that milestone, we realize that the feeling of fulfillment is fleeting, and soon we are chasing the next thing. This cycle keeps us trapped in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction, always looking ahead and never fully appreciating the present moment. Gratitude breaks this cycle. It teaches us to pause, to acknowledge the blessings we already have, to find joy in the simple things that we often overlook. When we practice gratitude, we begin to realize that true happiness does not come from having everything we desire, but from appreciating everything we already have. It is about being present in our lives, recognizing the beauty in everyday moments. The warmth of the sun on our skin, the laughter of a loved one, the comfort of a home, the privilege of another day. These are things we often take for granted, but they are the very things that make life meaningful. The moment we start appreciating them, we start feeling a deep sense of abundance, regardless of how much we have or do not have. Gratitude also has the power to improve our relationships. When we focus on what we appreciate about the people around us rather than what we wish they would change, our relationships transform. We begin to see our loved ones in a new light, noticing their kindness, their efforts, their love. We become more patient, more understanding, more forgiving. Instead of holding on to resentment for what someone did not do, we start valuing what they have done. We stop expecting perfection and start embracing the beauty of imperfection. This shift in perspective fosters deeper connections, builds trust, and strengthens the bonds we share with others. One of the greatest barriers to gratitude is comparison. In today's digital age, we are constantly exposed to curated highlights of other people's lives. We see their achievements, their successes, their seemingly perfect moments, and we start feeling inadequate. We compare our reality to their illusion, forgetting that social media only shows a fraction of the truth. The more we compare, the more we feel like we are falling behind, that our lives are not good enough. But when we cultivate gratitude, we break free from this cycle. We stop measuring our worth by someone else's standards and start appreciating our own journey. We recognize that our path is unique, that our timeline is different, that our blessings are not meant to look like anyone else's. Gratitude shifts our focus from what others have to what we have, from what we lack to what we possess, from competition to contentment. When we make gratitude a daily practice, it starts rewiring our brains. Science has shown that gratitude activates the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine and serotonin, the chemicals responsible for feelings of happiness and well-being. Over time, this rewiring changes the way we think, making us more positive, more optimistic, more resilient. We start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles, solutions instead of problems, blessings instead of burden. Our mindset shifts from scarcity to abundance, from negativity to appreciation. Gratitude is also a powerful antidote to stress and anxiety. When we are stressed, our minds tend to focus on everything that is going wrong, on all the uncertainties that lie ahead. We spiral into worry, dwelling on what we cannot control. But when we practice gratitude, we bring our attention back to the present, to what is good in our lives right now. This shift calms the nervous system, reduces stress hormones, and helps us approach challenges with a clear, more balanced mindset. Gratitude does not eliminate difficulties, but it changes how we handle them. It gives us the strength to face adversity with grace, knowing that no matter what happens, there is always something to be thankful for. Many people believe that gratitude is something that comes naturally, but in reality, it is a practice that must be cultivated. It requires intention, consistency, and a willingness to shift our focus. One simple way to practice gratitude is through journaling, taking a few moments each day to write down 3 things we are grateful for. These do not have to be grand or extraordinary. Even the smallest joys count. Another way is to express gratitude to others, to acknowledge their kindness, their efforts, their presence in our lives. A simple thank you, a heartfelt message, an act of appreciation can strengthen relationships and create a ripple effect of positivity. Gratitude also requires us to shift our language. The words we use shape our thoughts, and our thoughts shape our reality. Instead of saying, I have to, we can say, I get to. Instead of complaining about the challenges of the day, we can acknowledge the privilege of having another day to experience life. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, we can focus on what went right. This simple shift in language rewires our minds to see the good, to focus on abundance rather than lack. Life is unpredictable, and there will always be challenges, setbacks, and disappointments. But gratitude allows us to navigate them with a sense of peace. It teaches us that even in pain, there is purpose. Even in loss, there is learning. Even in uncertainty, there is growth. It reminds us that no matter how difficult life gets, there is always something to be thankful for. Gratitude is not just about recognizing the good in life when everything is going well. It is about finding light even in the darkest moments. It is easy to be grateful when life is comfortable, when success comes effortlessly, when happiness flows without resistance. But what happens when life takes an unexpected turn, when dreams shatter, when losses overwhelm, when pain becomes unbearable? In those moments, gratitude seems impossible, but that is when it becomes the most powerful. It is in adversity that gratitude reveals its true strength, not as a passive emotion, but as a tool for resilience, a force that allows us to rise even when everything around us is falling apart. When we face hardships, our natural instinct is to resist, to question, to ask why things are happening to us. We become trapped in a cycle of pain and frustration, focusing on what has been taken away rather than what remains. But gratitude shifts this focus. It teaches us to look beyond the struggle and find meaning even in suffering. It allows us to acknowledge that while pain is inevitable, how we respond to it is a choice. Gratitude does not erase the hardship, but it changes our relationship with it. Instead of seeing challenges as barriers, we begin to see them as opportunities for growth, for transformation, for discovering strengths we never knew we had. There are people who have lost everything: health, loved ones, financial stability, and yet They radiate an unshakable sense of peace. They have found a way to be grateful, not because their lives are perfect, but because they have chosen to focus on what is still within their power. They understand that gratitude is not about waiting for life to be free of pain. It is about learning to appreciate life despite the pain. It is about waking up each day and choosing to see the beauty that still exists, the lessons that hardship brings, the strength that emerges from struggle. One of the most powerful aspects of gratitude is that it allows us to reframe our past. Often we look back on painful experiences with regret, with resentment, with a sense of injustice. We wish things had been different, that we had made different choices, that life had been kinder. But what if, instead of seeing those experiences as wounds, we saw them as gifts? What if we realized that every setback, every failure, every heartbreak has shaped us into who we are today? Gratitude helps us rewrite our stories, to shift from why did this happen to me to what did this teach me? It allows us to find meaning in our pain, to recognize the growth that came from struggle, to embrace the lessons that life has given us, even when they came wrapped in difficulty. When we cultivate gratitude, we develop a mindset of resilience. Life will always be unpredictable, full of ups and downs, triumphs and losses. We cannot control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we perceive and respond to it. Gratitude helps us see that even in our worst moments, there is still something to hold on to. Hope, strength, the kindness of a stranger, the love of a friend, the simple fact that we are still here, still breathing, still capable of rebuilding. It reminds us that no matter how difficult life becomes, we have survived every single hardship up to this point. It shows us that we are stronger than we think, that we have overcome more than we give ourselves credit for, that we can endure, adapt, and rise again. In the face of suffering, gratitude is not about ignoring pain or pretending that everything is fine. It is about acknowledging pain while also choosing to see the good that still exists. It is about holding both joy and sorrow in the same hand, recognizing that even in the midst of hardship, there is still something to be thankful for. It is about choosing to focus on what we have rather than what we have lost. It is about understanding that while life is uncertain, the power to shape our perspective lies within us. Some of the most inspiring people in the world are not those who have lived easy, comfortable lives, but those who have faced unimaginable challenges and still found a reason to be grateful. They have lost, yet they give. They have suffered, yet they love. They have struggled, yet they inspire. Their gratitude is not rooted in an absence of pain, but in the realization that pain does not have to define them. It is in these stories that we find the true essence of gratitude, not as a reaction to life's blessings, but as a conscious decision to see life itself as a blessing. Gratitude is an act of defiance against despair. It is a declaration that no matter what life throws our way, we will not be broken. It is a refusal to let circumstances dictate our inner state. It is a decision to rise, to see, to appreciate, to embrace every single moment for what it is, a gift. And in that decision, we find a kind of strength that nothing can take away.